Say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. The first part of is the unknown, because you don't know. Like, I thought I was the only one out there in the world that was in this position of being ill. This illness called bipolar, I didn't know anything about the illness. So I'm thinking I'm the worst, and there's nobody out there like that out there. And so I felt, I guess in some ways, ashamed.
The first years that I was diagnosed with BPD were very confusing. I thought I was crazy. I thought there was no hope. I thought, oh God, what is this thing? You know, what's going to happen to me? Can I be cured? Can it ever go away? So I did a lot of research to find out what this is. There's many different types of BPD. There's some like myself, which is very emotional.
I was first diagnosed with a mental illness when I was 16. I attempted suicide, pretty serious suicide attempt. I was found out in the conservation area in the middle of winter by a guy that was running his dogs, and I ended up in a hospital. And so I was diagnosed with depression.
I've been diagnosed, for 20 years, pretty much now, and it does happen every 3 years. And I've been in the hospital for 5 weeks at a time, three times. So I don't fight that. I just look for that. And if I was to fight it and didn't understand my illness, I would probably be very ill and probably in and out of the hospital and not enjoying the life that I have today. My
recovery right now, I'd say it's manageable. There are times where I feel like it's not in control and it's out of control, but then I realize, oh, that's just my brain. I am in control. I can do this.
I'll always be recovering. I'm at a place where I still have to watch the stress in my life. I have to be aware of signs and symptoms. They're fewer and farther between because I've learned to manage the stress better. It's a learning process. You're not born knowing how to do things.
There's something about having a depression or bipolar or a mental illness that is unsaid. You don't have to say it. There's an experience there that you share without words. And so for us, I find that in my experience is that it gives confidence to people that they open up a little quicker, and they talk about things that they need to talk about. So yeah, and that's important, and that's peer support.
Peer support to me is a person who's living proof of recovery, or you can do anything, be anybody, do something. You're not dead if you have a mental health illness.
It's having a similar experience, being able to identify what some of the issues might be, understanding some of the potential underlying feelings. I'm always aware that my experience is my own and that other people can have similar experiences with different feelings, and some people can have different experiences with the same feelings. But it's a place where you can try to find that common ground.
You're teaching people that, just because you're having the illness, it's not the end of the world. We advocate for people because they can't at the time advocate for themselves. They think, well, as I did when I was first diagnosed, what am I going to do now? And where am I going? Because I don't know. And we try to instill hope and build relationships, not on a friend relationship, but on a peer support basis, which is different than a friendship. Like, they come here, people come to use the center, they come for knowledge, they come for support, so they can go out in the rest of the world and deal with their issues.
Peer support helps others, I think, because you're able to relate to them, and then they're a lot calmer, and they know that they're not alone. I think that's number one, is that they're not alone. Like, we're there too. I got you. I actually can say to you, I actually understand that, or I get that and mean it.
Peer support offers people a chance to talk to somebody who they don't feel is going to necessarily judge them or stigmatize them in any way. And it offers them an opportunity to connect with somebody who really does understand what that's like. And that alone, I think, is a little less isolating all by itself, just knowing that there's somebody that gets that part of it, and maybe a few other parts of it too, and knows kind of what that feels like.
It's just perfect job for me because it allows me to be the person I am. So being that, I love to talk, I love to interact with people, I like to really help people. I love to cook, and we have a dollar program here, so that is my forte in life. And then I peer support all along with it, which means I talk to people with issues, and I don't tell them what to do, but I ask questions. Then I also, I'm not afraid to share my experience with mental illness.
Being a peer supporter and sharing my life experiences, believe it or not, is a great help. Not only is it part of recovery for me because I'm able to talk to somebody about it, and I'm able to know that I'm not alone either.
My peer specialist job entails two things. It's kind of a two-pronged position, and it involves connecting with clients and helping them to feel comfortable within the system and providing information about my lived experience where it might be helpful to them, where they might be able to draw something that's useful to them and to help them to not feel so alone with what they are going through. So it's working with people to help them understand their illness and move through their recovery. But it's also working with the staff on the ACT team to help them understand what people might be experiencing, why certain behaviors might be occurring, what might be underlying that, understanding stigma, understanding all of the experiences that people might be going through, and helping them to better be able to serve the people they're working with too.
For me as a peer supporter, anyway, that's what I do. I make my own name, like words up, and I try to get people to interact. So I'll say something that is totally nothing, and just to get a look on someone's face. And so this is the best job I never had, because it's like coming to work. It's like coming to play for me.
I think the best qualities that a peer supporter can have is the ability to be relatable, to be real, to also have a great sense of humor, to make somebody laugh when they're feeling in the pits or hopeless, or they just don't know which way to go, and just having somebody that you can bounce ideas off of or find out their experiences too makes it a lot easier to cope with.
It's important to be able to share your experience and be confident enough in yourself to be able to trust the people and trust yourself to share your experience. But I also think it's really important to be able to listen and not make assumptions that, because you've had a similar experience, the feeling is the same, so you really need to listen to the feelings.
People out there that have gone through depression know it's hard to get out of bed in the morning, and you sit there and look at the jeans on the floor and think, geez, if I could only get them on, I might be able to get out of this house, But there's one lady in particular that had it down pat. Like, she was a strong trooper. And she inspired me, one of the most inspiring people that I ever met. Because she could tell me, when she first come here at the center, she couldn't sit. She couldn't eat with us. She couldn't do anything with us. And she would just go around the table, back and forth, walking, like treading back and forth. Well, after a year, she got to sit down. And of course, it was the rocking chair, and the rocking chair is my chair. So I proceeded to give it up for her.
This one guy would come in every day, would never smile, never laugh, never say much, and then finally, I don't know how I did it, but I just went up to him and started talking to him and found out what some of his interests were and stuff, and I started joking around with him, and believe it or not, he smiled. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I made you smile. And he started laughing, and we just started talking. It was incredible. And after a while, he was there for, I think, a couple of months or something like that. And he said, thank you very much, for being there for me and making me smile, making me laugh, making me see that there's more to life than this.
One person that I think I told you about before, that she always stands out to me. She recognized that she doesn't have to have the same feelings her partner does. She doesn't have, it doesn't matter if he wants to watch something different on TV, it doesn't reflect badly on her, that, they can be two different people, and that she can still have a sense of being worthy, and she just, it made such a difference in her life. She just really turned things around after she recognized that she doesn't have to keep everybody else happy all the time. She can do what she wants to do and still be accepted and still be loved and still move forward in her life. And that's when, I guess, really when she did start to move forward in her life, and she's working now and just doing beautifully.
The worst part about peer support is it would be the fact that sometimes you just can't get through to people. Like there's that one thing you just, like a person would be, and it doesn't happen very often, but there is times where you wish you could just implant, get to that next step, and you just can't get there, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer. And that would be the worst part of it is, we all as perfect human beings would be able to help everybody, right? And sometimes we can't.
The hardest thing about being a peer supporter sometimes is hearing everybody else's issues, especially if you're going through a difficult time, and then them telling you everything that's going on in their life and what they're dealing with, and you start to take that on yourself and think, oh God, that's so true. And for me, I feel what they're feeling or talking about, so I get totally involved in it sometimes. I'm like, oh, whoa, wait, whoa. It can be overwhelming. It can be overwhelming.
Sometimes you lose somebody. I mean, mental illness can be a really cruel thing. And yeah, sometimes you lose people to it. And that's the worst experience. That's just, it's horrible. And we've lost a few people since I've been here. And I think one of my other worst experiences is when I see people who don't have a good sense of their own self-worth and don't care for themselves, and you're watching them spiral downward. That's hard too. And you want to get in there and just pick them up. And you try sometimes, but you can't really save people. They have to save themselves. You can just provide information. And it's really hard to watch people that aren't ready to save themselves.
Most rewarding thing about being a peer supporter is, one of the things, of course, is that you meet friends. And they are friends, but they're not, they're friends at the center. They're cohorts, I guess, in a way that, we all have our stories and they're different, but a lot of feelings are very similar. There isn't anybody that comes here would not share their story with someone in order for them to be better off than when they come in that door. That's very rewarding to know that you're not alone as a peer support, that you also have peer supporters within the group of people that come to use the center.
It's not like talking to a counselor or a psychiatrist. It's not clinical. It's more relaxed. It's better. I would prefer peer support over clinical or like clinicians or doctors any day of the week. Any day of the week, because you're more relaxed and you can be yourself more, and it's not only solely about your illness, it's about your life, everything that encompasses that. It's fantastic.
The most rewarding thing about peer support is when you see somebody who has been in that position where you're watching them spiral down and you can't save them, and they change their mind and something clicks and they suddenly realize they're worth saving and decide to save themselves. I mean, that's not, I don't know if that's even really the peer support. I mean, it's just, peer support offers the opportunity to see that. That's not maybe the best thing about peer support, but it's the best thing about the job, is it offers the opportunity to see people turn around and do wonderful things with their lives.
Peer support gets people back to the roots of being a person, internally, from the soul, almost. We're a clinical model. It's just basically, okay, here is what you need to do just to get better, but it doesn't really, it gets you to a level where you can start to perhaps live again and function to a certain level. But peer support, on the other hand, it deals with the person, the body, their experience, their past experiences, their experiences with their illness.
It feels fake because they can't relate. They don't relate because they're not living it. Whereas a peer supporter is living proof. That you can be in recovery, you can be well, you can be working. They get it. They may have the same thing as yourself, which would be so great, because if you say to somebody, I've thought this, and this, does that make me crazy? They can actually say, oh my God, me too. And then you know, oh, I'm not crazy. I'm normal. I'm as normal as I can be. And when you go to the mental health and you say, do you know what I mean? Well, not really, but I can understand that no. You're making me sound as if I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm just emotional,
Well, the difference between the medical model and the peer support model is that I think the peer support model is geared to being empowering, and I think the medical model can be a little bit controlling. It's, I think, often, and it's not that doctors and nurses don't have good information and good knowledge, and sometimes they maybe do know what's best and what works, at least, for many other people. But from the peer's perspective, it's really important that the control stay with the person going through the experience.
But that's why we're here, is to let people know that it is okay. But if you're here today, like, you can be fine where you are, okay? Don't, the stress comes in is when you think you should be here. Oh my God, I should be here, but I had this illness, right? Well, in between here, between where you are today and where you think you should be, that's your depression. So you just need to say, okay, I'm here today. I might not like it, and this is what the lady used to say I was talking about, where she had the strength to just come in anyway. And she would just come, and she was okay for today. She didn't like it. She didn't like some of it, but she was here. And so that's what people need to know, that, we need to advocate for them.
I see peer support going, I'm hoping, in a positive direction, and also being more increased. I really firmly believe in it, and I really hope that, people see the importance of it and also back it up, and maybe have some more funding for it, or different organizations will come in and join in, like mental health services. I would love to see them get some peer supporters in there.
I would like to see more peer support within the mainstream mental health care system, within, not just on ACT teams, but in case management teams, and possibly court support teams and things like that. Peer support at residential levels, and just all through the system.
Peer support is one of the things that I think there really isn't enough of. I think it's any time that you can get out of yourself and work with other people. It's been sometimes said that's the best way of life, as far as living a harmonious life. When we talk about ourselves, and basically that's what we do with peer support.
It's one of the most rewarding things that I've ever had in my life. It's been very positive for me overall. Sure, I've hit some major bumps and speed bumps, but I'm not going to let that slow me down. If anything, I learned a lot, not only about myself and my abilities, but it gave me great courage, great confidence. And I've actually got to see some people that I helped, which made me in turn feel great. And it's helped my mental health illness, and I've met a few people who have BPD through peer support work. And I thought I was the only one. To know that I'm not alone was the biggest thing I've ever had happen in my life. And if you ever want to get in peer support, do it.
I did what I had to do and saw it through without exception. I planned each chartered course, each careful step along the byway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way.